So how you been? What have you been up to? What are we checking anything in today, or we're just gonna? Is it getting too personal? Were we gonna go to someplace really deep and heavy?
It might be. Does it feel like that? I mean,
I was asking because I didn't want to like throw a mic in your face and go, oh, I really wanted to unpack some really deep personal stuff. In which case we could just turn the mics off if we got to go there. Or
yeah, I don't know. I kind of felt a little bit that way, and I mean, I feel obviously a lot better around your influence, like instantly, which is
awesome.
Which is really awesome.
Cool.
And but other than that, it's just like this version of me or a version of me, or I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like I was thinking today, I was like supportive environments. Like I have you and Liz often, and then like, I get to see Bill and Amla sometimes, and those are awesome. But other than that, it's been my personal supportive environment hasn't been optimal for
right. No, I get it.
A while, like the last few weeks especially. I feel like, and I keep telling myself like, oh, it's fine, like it's good, and I don't know. I just feel strange, I just feel like less and less comfortable in my own skin, kind of thing, So,
I'm so glad you're checking this in then.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh well, because sometimes when I come here, I get to like speak with you and talk about the work, and that is really exciting, and it kind of like allows me to forget a bit about that, and I like it. And then I'm like, well, maybe I should start addressing this a little bit more.
That's absolutely the right thing to do. I mean, so with like dressing it more could just be quality wise, like just directly, just to really put some serious quality into it,
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe I'm also, it feels like heavy and deep, but also like maybe I'm just like building it up, I'm probably a good portion of it too.
Honestly, I'm not sure. If you mean building it up to the word heavy, is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, building up the heaviness within myself, like maybe for...
All right, let's play devil's advocate here. If you did have a call to answer and it was going to like nudge you a little bit and it wanted you to answer a call, it'd have to be heavy. If you were to do the work that was going to have you lighten the feedback that you're getting, you might miss the call that you're supposed to answer. Like that heaviness is there to help you kind of... And when you first started talking, let me just get right to the quick. Because I see a lot of similarities between you and where I was back in 1993 when I first got into practice, and that's 6 months out, So that was a big, turning point in my life. And the part that I can really resonate with what you're saying was about not having a supportive environment, because I remember having so many people in my life and so many people that loved me, and they were awesome people and wonderful people, even when I was doing the work, whatever I was doing in practice back then, and it was fulfilling, and I was getting accolades, and I was busy, and I was, doing what I was doing. I really believe that there was an emptiness, or if you want to just call it like some kind of like nudge that was in there, because I would just use the term spiritually, which is a real non-word anyway, but just something non-descriptive, non-linear that I can't really understand, but it was a phenomenon. And I really had to step up into the guy that I am today. I had to break convention, even my own convention. I wouldn't even say that I was living a conventional life, because I certainly wasn't, because the life that I was living was already breaking convention, but it was already established. And I really had to break convention from the convention that I already broke. And that was a really interesting thing. And again, the catalyst for me that really pushed it all was when Allison passed. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, what's the point of life now? I was faced with that. And I just couldn't really continue to just charade myself as a classic chiropractor, no matter what kind of chiropractic I was doing. I just didn't see the wisdom of charading in a certain way where people go, oh, you're a chiropractor, great doc, oh, my back, my neck, and all that stuff. And I was like, wow, this is the guy that came out with Thrivapeutics. So you could see how having a busy practice doing something that really wasn't enlivening my spirit was a real issue, So I had to answer the call, and I had to do all this stuff. And I already had Catalyst, but I had to come out of the closet. And instead of being some chiropractor that was, quietly doing Catalyst, some people knew about it, a lot of people didn't. I just changed my office to Catalyst Central, And it wasn't until I got into all of this coaching that I said, okay, it can't just be Cattle Essential, because now I got the body and mind part with Guardianology, and then, Greaterness coaching. So then it became Living Well Education. And the reality where I was going this with you is when you said about supportive environments, the supportive environments are honestly going to be the unknown faces that come to your practice on levels that you can't believe. The people that pre-qualify themselves. Like, you're a supportive environment for me, but there's no gun to your head to say, be here. Like, you come back, every week you come back, and it's like you have an opportunity to renew your vows. Any week you can just stop coming at any point in time. And everybody in my practice has that same freedom. The fact that you keep coming means that on some level, as a values choice, you've decided that there's something in this for you, and that
there's like
right
incredible value, in this for me. Yeah.
Well, isn't that amazing? But I mean, so let me get to that in a minute. But I just wanted to finish with: do you see the similarities that it could very well be that the supportive environment you're looking for are the people that you're going to end up serving? They're going to be attracted to you. The people who pre-qualify themselves as being in your practice, where you're allowed to share your goods, your gifts.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Yeah. I mean, I can touch that, especially like logically. And I've felt it too. I've touched it on like a feeling level, very seldomly, like a few people. And it feels like that really makes me feel amazing. That's incredibly supportive, and that was part of why today I was like, man, I haven't been serving people, and I haven't been putting myself out there to serve people, like even close people around me. And I'm like, ooh, that's, I don't know. I feel like that was like maybe a warning sign or something like that.
Absolutely. Well, it is. Well, just for the record, so people know if they watch this, whenever they're watching this, we're in the middle of the Corona quarantine. So serving people and having people come on your table is a thing, and everybody's going through what I'm calling the symptoms of withdrawal. And they're like, really losing the life that they used to have while we're hunkering down for an extended period of time, 2 months and counting, right? We're already into the end of April at the time that we're filming this, right? So I'm sure that plays into it, because even though you and I are having this conversation 6 feet apart, at least we're in each other's presence. And a lot of people aren't getting that kind of connection right now. And that's an issue for a lot of people, especially people like you who've been spending your last 10 years of your life studying. You just got your license, you're ready to serve, and now you're on hold. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with it,
Yeah. I mean, it definitely has its part to do with it too. And I don't, I
let
feel
me,
like
let me ask,
I
let me ask this. It seems like you want to unpack something that you're feeling that's inside that this conversation isn't touching. What if you were to just like unpack? What would come out of you?
I don't know. Maybe we can get to it. I mean, I think it has to do with that too. With I don't know. I like you mentioned earlier, like at 93, you came to this point, and you're like, what's the point of this? Right. And I feel like that's like I feel that right now. Like, what's the point? When
you get quiet. In listening for the answer about what's the point, because I think it's absolutely brilliant to ask. Now, the energy in which you're asking, like, what's the point? If you say it like that, you're not really thinking about it. But if you went, hey, what's the point? Hold on, let me think. What's the point? So there's a different energy. One opens you up to be in the inquiry, to discover and let the answer come to you. And the other is like, what's the point? So you're not even bothering even being in the inquiry.
That's the one I've been probably in most in the recent past.
Well, I want to honor that. So instead of just, manipulating this thing to get you to another place, let's assume that if you're in that place, it's for a reason, So let's assume that organically, for whatever reason, you have please forgive me if this hurts, but I call it a defeatist mindset, which is that what's the point?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to share that with people because it sounds like I'm judging them or making it bad.
I don't
But if
feel
it
that.
really resonates, you know what I'm saying? Because dry mouth means water. A defeatist mindset usually means empowerment deficient. Because, you either, like diagnosis, it's either an empowering diagnosis or it's a defeatist kind of diagnosis. How you respond is going to tell you what kind of diagnosis you just received. Is it getting you, I got to go, which is very thrivopeutic, I now know the calls I have to answer? Or is it very therapeutic? Oh, I'm broken and this is what's weighing on me right now. I'm not doing so well, which means you could be thrivopeutic deficient, or that mindset, the empowerment mindset. And maybe that is the case. Maybe that's what's happening here.
I mean, that's what it sounds like. That's what it feels like. Like you describing that, it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely it. And I'm like,
all right, so here we go. I call it reparenting. So right now you're probably having some inner dialogue with yourself that's probably less than empowering, which means what? That the inmates are running the asylum. The immature version, the childish person in you is the only voice in your head. But where is the parent inside? We call it the guardian within, right? Where is that superior mindset, that higher brain? And if you are at your best and you were really going to have your own back, if you were going to parent you and you were then going to be in the parent archetype, playing the role of the parent, what would you say to Mark that you've been not saying and not channeling and maybe you're deficient in offering honest to true, really, encouragement, words of encouragement? Like, what would you, the inner parent, say to Mark that's feeling this way?
I have gifts to offer other people. I have something to offer other people. I think that comes to mind.
Okay, it sounds like you're telling me as the person receiving the message.
Right.
I want to hear you say it as the parent, because I don't
Right.
think the parent would go, hey, look, you have some gifts, sort of. I think the parent would say, Mark, you got gifts. You're amazing. You're an incredible human being. You're made in God's image. I look at you. You're perfect. There's nothing wrong with you. You're absolutely beautiful. Ye with so little faith, everything's going to fall into place. If you just got calls to answer them, but do it on your pace. I mean, if it's going to take you a little bit, okay, so well, give yourself permission, just don't be so hard on yourself. You're a beautiful being of expression, so I think the parent would say something like that, but you seem to be deficient in being able to give those kinds of words of encouragement or parenting to yourself. And because you keep wanting to speak as yourself, I can feel that. But if you were really the father, if you were your father, I'm not asking you to behave like your father. I'm saying if you were the father, a dad, and you had a son named Mark, and you were the son, what would you, as a father, what would you tell him? How would you speak to him? What would you say to him? As you growing up as a father?
Like you have gifts to offer the world. You have gifts to offer other people. You have gifts to offer yourself, and it's it's whether you believe it or not, it's there. And
Let's pause this and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Something else is wanting to come out that has nothing to do with what we're touching. And I'm trying to figure out what it is, because we would know. That's why you're laughing. You see, yes, there's more yes in your response right now than in the process we just did. And I get that you don't know, but you're trusting me and we're going through the process. So we'll figure this out together. But what if I said I gave you permission to just let it flow, and you were going to be a defeatist dad? What would you say to you then? Like, if you were just going to be discouraging, critical, if you're going to say everything negative, what would you say?
I'd say, you're right. You're not good enough, or you're not doing enough, or you're not figuring out, or you're not.
Keep going. You're doing great.
You're not working enough, or you're not working hard enough, or you're not disciplined enough, or
Now, what would you say in response to that? Or even in reaction to that? How would you respond or react to that, to those words? Would you react, do you feel, in a way where you would feel good about yourself? Do you think it would feel bad? Would you feel like, wow, my dignity is going to be expressed here, let me say this? Or will you feel really good about it? Or would you feel like, oh God, this doesn't feel good, I'm like defending myself, why should I have to defend myself? Which one? Why don't you just see how you'd respond to those words?
I mean, this state or this version, I would definitely say like, oh yeah, there's definitely some validity to those points, and
Cool.
and be like, okay, yeah, I know. I feel like, I know it's time for me to step up in some areas, and I agree. And then it comes back to, okay, what's the point in that energy, as opposed to, what's the point of this,
So what is the point then? I mean, just get storytelling. Take it to the highest level,
I mean, I feel like the point is to make this place a better place, to make this world a better place, to be the example, to show love, and to show that people can love each other, and that we can all prosper and all do better.
That's beautiful.
Together. And I feel like I connect to that well, and then it's like,
so then what's the point of these symptoms or this expression or this state that you're in? How does this state support that? Does it support that? I mean, does this state, is it just sabotaging, or is it clarifying? I mean, what do you think, where you're at right now?
Well, I've been thinking about it, and I feel that it's been more sabotaging than clarifying. And then in terms of like, yes, I understand, I need to step up, I need to do something, and then I'm like, it's not good enough, and should this, should that, and so I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it, there's a call to answer, and also it's I just get caught in that non-supportive internal environment, or this version of me does, and then it's and then it becomes more of a saboteur and personal sabotage, as opposed to, oh, this is clarifying me, helping me kind of filter, okay, what's my call to answer, and then it's like, no, you should do this, and just having difficulty with, or this version of me is having difficulty with, clarifying it without being like, without having it be like personal sabotage,
Sounds to me like you got the angel on one shoulder with the
That's
halo.
exactly what it is, and it's like I feel like I've been listening to the other shoulder more often,
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what if you were to let them have a conversation and all you were to do would observe?
Just
what if you
observe.
let them talk it out? Because I'm thinking like you're not letting the angel have enough of a response. And for whatever reason, that other shoulder. What if the angel, and this is what reparenting is, what if you gave that other opportunity to have a voice, which is like sanctification, where you can say, because you did it before, you said there's some truth to that, there's validity to that. Mm-hmm. It's like, great, that's awesome. But you didn't go with, but what's also true is that you're in a process that you can't control. You're going with it, and this has to be there. The more that I cooperate with this, the better off I'm going to be. The harder I am with myself, the more less optimal I am, or suboptimal, right? Mm-hmm. And the more when I give myself permission to be in any kind of gestation period that I'm in, the better off I am. And then the more likely I'm going to take positive action, because I'm not beating myself up, forcing me to be in a defeatist mindset. Mm-hmm. I'm actually putting myself in an empowering mindset, which is positive reinforcement, which makes me want to take action rather than have to go through the muck and force yourself to take action because you're beating yourself into submission, which you could see doesn't really work positively anyway. Even if it worked, it would work negatively. So there's no reason to use that as a strategy,
Yeah. I mean, I just got a flashback of like, maybe my younger days, especially when I was growing up playing hockey and training for that. It was like, often I would be told by coaches and different people, other players and whatever, many influences that I'm not good enough on one side, like more often, and few people on the other side would say, yeah, you're good enough. But then I use that as fuel to get better and just get better at something that I really enjoyed and truly knew that I was good enough at, and I could become better. And I don't know, I guess that was like the main driving force for me to become better.
But it's still negative.
It was, yeah, and it was still negative, and it was always behind me all the way up to the very end of my competitive career, you know, like.
But it was still negative. That's
exactly, and that I think in the end, that's probably one of the reasons. That's why that might be one of the reasons why I stopped or said, okay, that's enough.
Well, that's brilliant, actually. If it's negative, it's the smart, like putting your hand on a stove.
Yeah.
You know, I stopped touching that stove.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about playing with the phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're getting it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but there is something that you're unpacking here. I'm still feeling like, you know, for you, let me just unpack the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the tears that I had with Frances on that video, when she asked me the questions, and I was talking about not knowing when to zig and not knowing when to zag. So what I do when I'm with people is I honor their process, the integrity of their process, the gestation period, the timing of their process, right? At the same time, you want to find out if there are any calls that they can organically answer that will also match their process. And my sense is with you is that you seem to go from one side where you're very, very comfortable respecting the integrity of your process and not pushing yourself. And then from that point, it jumps to, okay, now I must push myself. And you seem to go back and forth. And so we use the word wiggle room. Like, what are the breath steps that you can take that you're not taking, that you will take? And I think that question gets lost in your head and it gets translated to, what action steps should I take or must I take to get to the next level? And that kind of is sabotaging to the optimal inquiry about what are the breath steps that you can take organically that you're not taking, that life wants you to take. And if you could stay in that inquiry, in that energy, you'll get a different answer than the way the question is being translated in your head. Like, what must I do? What should I do to get out there and, you know, take action? And that's not you, Mark. You got that going with itness. There's a very deep, you know what I'm saying, right? Do you know where I'm going with this?
I think so.
Okay, give it back in any way you'd like. That's okay.
Yeah, I think you mean like, I don't know. I'm just having a little brain freeze right now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It has to do with, like, if you really are encouraging, then the inquiry that you're having in the stillness, in the quiet, is very positive. Like, what are the calls to answer? What can I do that I'm not doing? What are the breath steps I can take? And that kind of gets translated in your head.
Yeah.
To what are the action steps? What must I do? What should I do? Which is very beat yourself up into action. And it's a different voice. And so that voice is going to have different answers that you organically reject. There's an organic pushback to wanting to execute the answers from what should you do? What must I do in order to be a good person, you know, or to handle this? And so if you go back to the spirit of who you are around, let's assume that there are breath steps, no matter how small, right? Never underestimate the power of a subtle improvement or subtle shift. What would that be? What's a really breath-filled step that you can take that would, that you will take, not that you would like to take or should take or must take, that you honestly feel that you will organically take? That's a step in the right direction.
I think, well, now that you mention it, because it's come up in the recent, maybe last few days or even week, perhaps. And it's been, in terms of like figuring out who I am again, I almost felt like, or I feel like because I was like literally thinking about this yesterday. It's like, I remember who I was, kinda, but I don't feel like I know who I am right now. And I feel like I'm losing sight of who I was too. And I feel like I haven't figured out who I want to be either. So it's like,
Well, figuring out who you want to be is nice. It's nice, but the odds of you getting there, right? You're going to be who you're born to be, who you're meant to be. As this flower emerges and blooms, you're going to discover who you are anyway. That's a
Yeah.
big one, you know? And I'm feeling like you're really working on making peace with the mystery again, because right now you don't know who you are is probably a true confession that you aren't who you thought you were. And so I'm not sure if it's such a bad thing for you not to know who you are, to be honest with you, but I will tell you that your relationship to not knowing can certainly use a boost, you know, because I think to be that honest with yourself, to say, I don't know who I am or who I'm going to become, that's awesome. I mean, how many people would love that? That means you shed your skin on who you were. You know you're not who you were. Now you've got to learn how to make peace with the mystery until TBR, right? To be revealed, until it all comes out and it's revealed to you about who you are. And look, I have no problem with you having an intention about who you'd like to be, which is fun. If it gets you moving, fine, go ahead. This is the man I'd like to be. But I mean, what's your hint right now about, if you were to give your best guess about where you think this is going, not who you'd like to be, what direction do you think this is all taking you? Like, who do you think you might be if you were a gambling man, just looking at your process?
I mean, in the state that I've been, it's not super great, I don't think.
In the state you've been in?
In the state I've been in.
Right. Are you going to maintain that state?
No.
Is that state directing you to go to a different state?
Yeah.
So what state do you think it's directing you to go into?
I mean, a higher state.
Right,
a
exactly.
Greater state.
And what would that Mark be like? I mean, what would give me a glimpse of him? Best guess. You don't have to know, but at least in the direction of, in the right geographical location, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like definitely somebody that's you know, encouraging to other people, that just gets along.
There you go.
Encouraging to other people, that gets along with other people, that like doesn't take anything too seriously.
Okay, time out. You are seeing that right now. This is exactly what you're having to do for yourself, right? If you can do this for yourself, if you can start being encouraging for yourself, let's call it boot camp, encouraging boot camp, or not taking things too seriously school.
Yeah.
So could you be the parent now and encourage yourself on all these levels? And what would you say if you really were serious? Like, if you weren't you and you were a client that walked in the door, how would you talk to that client, and could you give yourself that gift? What would you say?
I mean, I would say like, hey, obviously you're awesome. You're here. You know, whatever it is that you think you're going through, whatever state you're going through, it's not going to last forever. You have the support, you have the environment, you have the people, and it's just a matter of time, and it's just a small change, and things can change like in the blink of an eye even, you know, and it's like, it doesn't take long. And once it clicks, and it's, you know, it's all part of it. And
Let me stop you there. How did that feel?
I mean, I felt really good, and that felt really good. And like you said,
Well, that's what you're here. That's what you're doing. This is your school. This is your boot camp, and you got to start with you, so then you can test drive it, and now you can give it to your people with integrity, because you can say, no, these aren't just words. I'm not just a hair club president. I'm also a client.
Yeah.
I have used these exact words on myself, and I think I might have even needed it more than you do right now, right? And you can say all this, and now you're recognizing you're doing what all real true facilitators are having to do, and that you're transcending yourself to see the bigger picture, to then give that higher level of support.
Right.
And you are the first person that you've got to give that support to.
Yeah.
But again, like I said before, the inmate has been running the asylum. You haven't like inserted that wisdom that you just threw out there again. Would you like to say that differently?
Yeah, I need to access that transcendent part of me to you know, provide that
Okay, it's getting a little heavy.
Okay.
As soon as you threw the word need in, everything else got lost. Because that need is the same thing. That's beating it up. You get it? I need to. And that's the should stage again. And that lost the flow. So I want you to go back to the words of encouragement. Because I don't think anybody who's really loving you is going to go, you need to do this.
Right.
And so you see, look what happened to your shoulders. You just started to move. You organically went to what you need to do, which became heavy, which is exactly what you said. Lighten it up, right? Don't be so heavy with things. Don't take things so seriously. And what'd you lead with when I said do it again? I need to. So this is about observing your use of language. And I think, and it got heavy.
It did.
Considering what you just said a minute ago and how it was flowing, it was interesting how you recruited the word need. So let's do it again. And this time, really be that encouraging guy that you were channeling just a minute ago, and train that brain state so that you have easy access to it and see what flows out of you.
So, I mean, I would go something like, you are wonderful. You're awesome. It's, I empathize with this current state, and that's just temporary, and it's part of the process, and it can change instantly. And everything's gonna be all right. Everything's awesome, and it's just a matter. It's yeah. I don't know why it's so difficult for me to do this.
You were doing so good. You were doing really, really good. Do you have an idea what was coming up against? Like what just came up? Like that caused the brain freeze? Anything? Any idea about what that was?
I don't know if I believe it myself,
Right.
Yeah.
We see you switching brain states. So
Yeah,
there you go. Inmate ran the asylum.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden the person speaking was the person that was supposed to be receiving the support. And the person receiving the support was rejecting everything the supporter was saying. But that's because you were in the brain state of the receiver instead of the person giving the support. And you're really learning, you said yourself, how to take things less serious, how to be more encouraging. So this is a very important practice for you. You're going to have to condition this.
Right.
I mean, listen to me. You got me doing it, right? Pathway dynamics. You're going to have to.
Yeah.
Instead of that. So it would be wise to, it would be breath-filled to repeat this if you can, right? And to do it as effortlessly as possible or easily as possible. That's really an important one.
Right.
Do you have any questions based on this stuff right now? Does this bring up anything that comes up for you as far as a question?
I mean, it's bringing to light how quick the brain state changes.
How fragile we are.
Yeah, how fragile is even a better word for it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Good. I'm glad you're seeing that.
Yeah, and
you see the value in the entrainment in repeating a process like this, that it's like using the languaging that after a while it becomes you, and really choosing to go to that archetype, the loving parental archetype that's encouraging a lost soul son, which is what you're feeling when you're in that archetype as the lost son, because you're feeling it as lost me.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not me. That's my son. I must insert empowering parental guidance here and support, and hey, everything's going to be okay. Always has been, always will be. Now, there are, whatever you want to call them, protocols out there, people who do more classic kind of psychology, clinical psychologists and stuff, and they hate talking about how you're perfect and things are okay. And so we have to talk about that, because there are two sides to this. You're perfect, but you can always improve. And so when people are feeling like in their mind that they're a mess, that they're lost or whatever, it's like that's true. You really, really are a mess. But that's one of the greatest gifts you're given, because the reason you're a mess is you intuitively know that you can improve. And that's going to be no matter what state of mess you're in or what state of optimal functioning you're in, you can always improve, right? No ceiling to quality of life improvements, successions, or all of that. And so when you're feeling what you're feeling, all you got to do is take that next step, or you know what, and let it be a breath step. Really, you don't have to push. You just have to find, where's the breath, where's the swirl, where's my emerging me, and can I be encouraging, and can I take action steps, right, breath steps, while I'm patient. So that I'm not pushing. Like, what can I do that would create movement that's not necessarily a should? It's a, wow, I get to, or I want to. Let's do this. And be in that inquiry, because you haven't been in that inquiry. The brain state is not letting you be as encouraging, as supportive, as solution focused as your habitual, very defeatist, be harsh with you brain state. And so that's the thing, is you got to be, God, I'm using your words again. It would be wise for you to start observing that you're going between one brain state that's amazingly encouraging, supportive, going with itness, respecting the timing, loving this, trusting this, not pushing. You have amazing moments like that. And then all of a sudden, you're like, okay, that's long enough, which there's truth to that, about that there's long enough. I get it. But you quickly go to a brain state that's suboptimal to meet the, okay, that's enough, instead of going, okay, breath steps. Okay, so where is my movement right now? Stay in the optimal brain state and take steps, instead of going into a defeatist mindset, trying to force you and strong arm you into taking steps, because that's where you're pushing back.
Yeah.
Is that making sense?
Yeah, feels like I can definitely relate to that, and
good,
and have experienced that for sure.
What I'm looking forward to for you is, if when you observe this, you're going to see the shifts in your energy, the areas where you were heavy, and you'll be observing that you're in this brain state, and the other areas where this session has really supported you in moments where you have transcended that recursion, and you'll see it, and you'll see yourself bouncing back and forth. It's going to be really cool for you, because that's the greatest thing about doing these sessions on tape, just so that is that you can actually observe them, and see them, and get a lot more juice out of them, because you can't help but be more of an observer when you're watching. You get it? Yeah. And you'll see yourself shifting. I mean, anybody who sees this tape is seeing it.
I've felt it, like, just in
right.
In that hesitation moment,
right.
Just flipped instantly, right? And then it's
how about that long silence?
Yeah,
where I just left you to flop. Wasn't that? And look, anything could have come out of you. I mean, you could have came out through that silence with the most amazing, brilliant pieces of wisdom that you could have been like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?" Or it could have been like, that's it, I'm gone, I'm lost, I'm done, I got nothing, another brain freeze, And so it's good to see all that. And you really want to respect that and honor that, because that's why you're here, right? To be gentle with your process, right? Clearly. And then to learn from that, which is really the key, right? That's it right there. What we're talking about there, that's when you have some leverage. You get on top of it, because this is the person that's feeling it. And then you're like, oh, it's okay. That's the parent coming in, the words of encouragement. But the inmate has been running the asylum. There's no encouraging words going, it's going to be okay. Hey, look, all this is that there are some steps you need to take. Make sure they're breath steps, that you're not getting, boldly take on the world, because that's not going to feel good. There's no breath in that. So of course it's resistance, let's force this. Let's fight. Let's manipulate this, No, let's just find out what your recipe for success is, and stay in that inquiry, and really focus the most of your energy that you can, gently, of course, for you, with what are the breath steps that I absolutely will organically take, that I'm not taking, but I will take, that I really will take. And that's a big difference, because, again, the person that wants to edit that and translate that wants to answer should take, must take, I know you need to take, and that's not the brain state you want answering the question, but that's the brain state that says, I'll answer this, I know what he needs to take, must take, should take, have to take, it's got to take for anything to be good in his life. It's like you've already lost the brain state to get the kind of clarity you need. So you get it? So the gentleness and being really staying in the inquiry about well, I appreciate that you want to quickly take action steps. What I'm looking for is some breath steps. Really looking for some breath steps. Can we hold that standard right here about the breath steps, so we're not pushing, and I can let my recipe for success continuously be revealed to me? Are we cool with that? How's that feel?
I mean, it feels better for sure.
Good.
It feels a lot better than the must or need or should.
Right.
You know.
And so as a
for
parent,
sure.
and you know that, you know it feels better, do you want to be giving you the musts, the need, and the should, or allow yourself to do what you know you can do that you're not doing, but it's effortless for you to do, it's breath-filled for you to do?
Mm-hmm.
Where would that be? What would that be? Think about how many people you're helping right now that's watching this, that are going, wow, cool concept, holy jeez, you know?
I hope it's helping a lot of people.
How could it not? I mean, seriously, come on.
Yeah,
I mean, you know.
sure.
You know.
I do, yeah.
But since we've been doing these, and I did Jay List the other day, and that was absolutely fascinating. You know, he brought out some stories that I had forgotten, and it was really cool. And so I'm having to do these just so you know, and the reason why I'm throwing everybody in front of a camera is I've got a guy who's been promoting me, you know, the guy who got the whole Forward Healing TV show up and running, and that's all on hold because of Corona, thank you. But in the meantime, I got to get my quote-unquote ducks in a row. Didn't even know I had ducks, but apparently I do. And there it is again, gotta, right?
Yeah.
So what he's needing is content on Dr. Michael. I mean, that's just where it's at. And so I'm amassing content on his behalf because it will ultimately serve more people, the right people who are going to resonate with this and whatever, and explore it to whatever degree they will and be helped by it, like you. So what do you want to say about whether it's me, the work, and then what aspects of the work do you want to speak on behalf? Is it catalyst? Is it anything? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is there anything you want to speak on, assuming that you're just talking to John Q. Public, who you never met? Like, what would you want to even say? I mean
everything's amazing. The work in itself is the most... I guess I could say that the most transparent work that I've seen out there. I think. I mean, there's other awesome things in this world, but and this is like one of the best that I've seen and experienced and worked with and helped facilitate with, and it's incredibly it's incredibly empowering, and it in terms of, especially in terms of not overwhelming the body, the system, and always the unconditional welcoming. I don't know if you see that anywhere else. I mean, I've seen other great people too, but this work just embraces it like to a degree that I think I've seen seldomly other places, you know. And Dr. Michael is one of the coolest, most amazing people I've ever met, and I'm like incredibly grateful for, and has so many amazing stories, and has helped so many people, and has helped me and a lot of people I know a lot. And it's like every time I show up to see you, either, you know, and every time I show up to see you, it's like, it's like my home away from home almost, you know. Every single time I'm like, oh my God. And then just thinking about going to see you or working with you, or going to a class or a blue weekend, or just to get a session, a catalyst, body work, or some Greaterness coaching. It's just like, as soon as I think of that, it's like, that positive, supportive environment, I just feel instantly better. I just feel like I can access my higher self that much quicker and that much easier. Like the barrier to entry to that state is like almost nothing, you know, when I think of you. So yeah, I mean, I can go on, and I mean, the work is amazing, and what you do is amazing, and you live what you do. You every single time, it's like that when the integrity, like, through everything you do is just like, it's like, I don't know what word to describe it. It's like it permeates every single aspect of what you do, and it's like, wow. It's like it's just something that, you know, when I first met you, it was like, wow, and then I thought about it. I was like, man, if I can live this life like anybody that I've met so far, like and go with itness and just take on life and just enjoy it to the greatest ability. I was like, oh, who could it be? And I was like, wow, it's Dr. Michael for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the big reasons why I decided to stick around, you know, after graduating from Life U. And that was my initial decision. I was like, okay, this like is probably the top person I've met on this planet, in this world. Well, wouldn't it make sense to spend more time with him, to be more around, to get to learn from him and maybe spread some of that magic to other people? So,
oh, thank you. So what have you learned? Is there anything in particular that you want to unpack or share? Like, if I'm watching this and I have no idea who I am, I need practical. I want to know like what you really learned, so that, and I mean, where have you seen improvements in your life, and what have you learned? I mean, and has it really been real, or are they just concepts? You know what I'm saying?
They've definitely been real. And yeah, I mean, that unconditional welcoming, you represent that to the best of anyone I've ever met. It like doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on or what present, like, your preparation for unconditional welcoming is like, it's like, it's almost like, wow, I didn't even know that was possible, you know? And so it doesn't matter what you're showing up with. Like, it could be the most amazing positive thing that you've ever heard, or it could be the most negative, like, downright scary, or like low state or feeling. That it doesn't matter. You're ready to answer. You're ready to help to facilitate whatever that shows up. And so I guess that goes with the going with itness, I guess. And yeah, so
Have you done any of this in your life? Have you seen your ability to kind of integrate any of this stuff? Do you do any unconditional welcoming? How do you think you're doing with it? Has it helped? Or does it hurt because you're not where you'd like to be with it? Or is it helpful? You go.
I definitely think it's helped, and it's I don't know. I know that it's helped, and I've seen a lot of instances when it's going well that I'm like, oh my God, this is easy. It's so, and then it's made the times when it's been a little bit more difficult. It's like, wow, this might even be even more difficult if I hadn't like practiced this, you know, and trained this to whatever degree I have at this point. And it's like, oh, okay.
I love what you just said. That is 1,000% true. That is it. There's no zenith that we're getting to. It's about quality of life, right? It's about the embrace. It's the way you embrace it. And if you embrace it better, then it's better. If you embrace it worse, then it's worse. I mean, what we're receiving no matter what, right? But you want to receive it as well as possible. And yes, it could always be worse, and it can always be better. And that's a beautiful freedom to have. But again, that's why you want to be as breath-filled while you're working on this, because you don't want to push too much to make everything better and better. Got to make it better. Got to make it better. That's not really the way to do it. You know, you want to really respect the process that you're going to have in making things better. And you're in the middle of a process. And that's why I want to repeat one more time. Make peace with the mystery, with however long this is going to take. You know, do that gently with yourself. Like, really just begin the process of just accepting that you are undiscovered mysteries. You know, there's going to be many versions of you, and you won't know who you're going to be tomorrow, but you can get a glimpse of who you are today, newly today, that you weren't yesterday. And then, you know, do your best at welcoming that, and even naming that and going, wow, I'm more trusting right now. I am. I definitely, you know, I'm still beating myself up, not as much, not as often, and not as intensely. Not right? Duration, intensity, and frequency. And so I may not be perfect, but I'm definitely in the process, in the direction where I'd like to go. You get it? Cool.
Yeah. It's definitely a scale, like you said, right? It's the spectrum, I guess. And then this work has definitely helped me move up the spectrum, you know? And it's like, yeah.
Cool. And in accordance with your own integrity, which is really, really important, that you're doing it in accordance with your own integrity. That's a big one. Would you like to unpack diff for these peeps?
Yeah, sure.
Please.
Yeah, so duration, right? How long a session will last and how long, how long that needs until we get that optimal, that little small optimal change,
Mm-hmm.
And then intensity would that would refer to how much input into the system, whether that's words with language and or contacts during a body work session, and then frequency, how often during
beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you're seeing improvements in those parameters, in duration, intensity, and frequency, then you don't have to be perfect. As long as, and actually, the research is out there. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, people have done studies, and they've redone the studies. It's really, really clear that incremental improvements are best. They're the most integrative.
Right.
You understand? So that is huge. So if you can appreciate that there is a process, that it as long as you're showing some sort of improvement of duration, meaning if you are challenged, it's not lasting as long.
Right.
And then intensity, if you are challenged, it's not as intense. It's if it was a 10, now it's a 9 or a 6, whatever it is. And then frequency, I don't get challenged that often anymore.
Right.
So all you have to do is see improvements in one of those. Right? And then you're making improvements, and again, like I said, the literature is so unforgiving about this, is that incremental improvements are the best. They're the longest lasting. They're the most integrative. And so diff is where it is. So make peace with the fact that we grow incrementally. That's why I've worked with successions and forward healing and all of these things, everything, Just keep working on the progress of things and just stay the course. It's okay.
Well, during this process, sometimes I feel like, perhaps the diff is improving. And sometimes I feel like maybe I just feel more, because sometimes I feel more like, I feel like I regressed, but maybe that's just feeling more.
Mm-hmm. It's also integration. I mean, you do regress. I mean, if you ever look at any wave, EKG or anything, when you go up, if you just stayed there, you'd be dead. It's flatlining. So you have to realize that everything is, polarity.
Right.
It's alternating opposites, expressions of opposites. So you get that, up and down, and that's how you integrate. But the idea is you want to see it going up.
Right.
You want to see what's the term that we love to use? It's a great term. They use it, I'm thinking, in financing. What is the
trend?
You got it. Thank you. The direction, the trajectory. It's really important. Like, where is this trajectory going in the bigger picture? You're going to have those moments, but that's what helps you integrate. When we talk about the mountain climbing analogy, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You got it? The climbing makes the rest sweeter, and the rest makes the journey strong. And you have to go both. You have to, sometimes stop to integrate. And when you're, quote unquote, regressing, recognizing that you're building up your juice for the next journey, the next, incremental improvement. And recognize that's part of integration. I mean, we see that in life, daytime, nighttime, inhale, exhale. It's this constant yin and yang, and then just to respect that instead of being like, no, it must be like this. It's like, no, you actually do better like this, believe it or not. And you got the word trend. That was beautiful. Well, Marc, I think this was a very amazing session. I want to thank you for letting me share it.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a lot for people to expose themselves and be vulnerable, but I do believe this is going to help people. I mean, besides, I don't want to be, quote unquote, just using those words to make you feel good about you bearing your shit, in front of everybody. Sorry, Fred. Fred's trying to get me to be real professional and stop cussing. He's worried. He's like, you never cuss on Ryan Cameron's show. What are you doing? Watch your language. So, okay. I'm sorry, Fred. I'm trying to get better. But you're laying your stuff bare. How about stuff? Yeah. And so I think I want to thank you for that, because it takes, I don't like doing this, but I really, really don't. Otherwise, I would have a zillion of these sessions out there over the past 27 years. But I do see the benefit in sharing this, but I also want to acknowledge your generosity in doing this, because there is something there. I don't want to assume that, you're comfortable with this. I mean, there is a bit of a stretch involved when you're going to share yourself, be this vulnerable and open with the public. So it's valuable, but I also want to say thank you.
Yeah.
And
Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for making it easy. And, obviously being vulnerable is not super easy all the time, and you just make it easier. And, I really hope that it does, have I really hope that, other people find value out of this, or that it can help other people who are maybe in similar or different circumstances or situations. And yeah, so thank you for facilitating that vulnerability from me, because I think that if I can be more vulnerable with myself and with others, then maybe I'll have the opportunity someday to help other people that way. So
beautiful. Well, thank you, because what you're talking about, there's a phrase that we use in the work, we call it authenticating your process. And this is so true, and it's real, and that's what makes it so integrative and so impactful, is how real it is, or how real it is for you. It may not be real for everybody, but it's real for you and for people who identify with this. And the fact that you could so generously authenticate your process in a public forum like this. Well, look, you're only talking right now. You got to first then watch it when it's up there and everybody else is watching it. You'll either go, that's really good, or you might cringe. You might be like, Doc, you got to take that off, man. Can't keep that up there. And I'll take it off for you. So if it's on there, it's because he's agreed to leave it on. So that's the truth too. And you know that. So anyway, thank you, Marc. Thanks for all your words, man.
Thank you. And thank you for all your amazingness that you bring, to myself and to the people around me that I know, and all the people that you touch. It's like incredible what you're doing. So
thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Incredible. I should say it's amazing what you're doing. So
thank you, man. Appreciate it. Really do. Can we do this again? Is that cool with you? I mean, you comfortable with this?
Yeah.
And I think there'll be magic every time. I don't think.
I mean, I'd love to see also, the progression.
Absolutely. We'll date them, right? We'll have, you could tell which ones are older, which ones are newer, and stuff like that. So that's really cool. So there was a session you gave me a session, or Bill gave me no, it was Bill. I was having a session, and the hit came about making videos, and your image came up. It was just like, really, it was like right away. It was like, oh, Marc, wow. That's it. Marc, making videos at Marc. And how long ago was that? And now we're finally really getting into it. Like we've done a couple, but this feels what it was always supposed to be about, what we're touching today, to be real honest with you. I think that what we have out there is fine, but it's not this.
No, this was a little deeper, a little
authentic, real.
A little authentic, yeah.
It hit home. Anyway, that's enough. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.